Ray, I know that you had a little bit of an unusual childhood and that you're from South Dakota, I think. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I grew up on a ranch in rural South Dakota. We did not have electricity. We did not have running water. And the roads were all gravel and mud. And I went to a one-room schoolhouse that was about a mile away that I rode a horse to. So it was a very different childhood.
How did you leave that kind of a life into a very sophisticated life and technical life, scientific life that you finally ended up with?
I went to high school at a local high school, and I played basketball in high school, and I went to college originally to play basketball and be a high school coach, I thought. And after my freshman year, I was kind of at loose ends and didn't know what I wanted to do and wasn't satisfied with the direction of my life. So I decided I would join the Navy to get away and do some traveling, and actually to avoid the draft because the Korean War was at that time. And when I got to boot camp, they decided that they would send me to medical school, to corps school, and that changed my whole outlook on life. I found my life's work there. I decided I liked medicine. I liked everything about it. And when I got out, I gave up the idea of being a coach, and I wanted to be a pathologist. Mm-hmm. So that was my change in lifestyle, that I went from a ranch to a laboratory, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And from the Navy, what kind of experiences did you have you were a medic?
I was a medic with the Navy when I got out of corps school. I stayed at Great Lakes Naval Training Center at the hospital there, actually to play basketball. But I was assigned to a billet with a obstetrics ward, which I didn't spend much time in because I spent most of my time in the gym. But when the basketball season was over, they were having the Korean War was using up corpsmen at a rapid rate, so they sent me to the Marine Corps. I went to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, for field medical training, and from there I went to the West Coast and then on to what ended up being Japan. The 3rd Marine Division left Pendleton, California, and we made practice landings on Iwo Jima and Okinawa on our way to Korea. They thought they were going to make a landing on Korea, but the fortunes of war changed. So the 3rd Marine Division went to Japan, and I spent a little over 14 months then stationed in Japan at Base Camp Fuji with the Marine Corps. After my 14 months of duty there, I rotated back to the States, and I was assigned to a 155 Howitzer Battalion in 29 Palms, California. And I was awaiting discharge there, and I thought I was getting an early discharge to go to college when the orders came in. But this is the time I went to Saigon. At that time it was Saigon, Indochina, which is now Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And I spent 4 months hauling refugees from Haiphong down to Cape Saint Jacques and Saigon. And then when that time was up, I was discharged, gladly.
Mm-hmm. Did you think about going to medical school, or what was your plan?
When I got out of the service, I'd made up my mind to go to medical school and become a pathologist. So I went to the University of South Dakota with that in mind. And after 3 years of a chemistry pre-med major, I was interviewing at the medical school of the University of South Dakota, and a professor there by the name of A.D. Larson asked me what I was going to use for money. A very astute man. He said, "Your GI Bill is running out, and I know you're not rich. What are you going to use for money?" And I didn't have a good answer. And he said that he had some funds that he would finance my education to get me a master's degree in microbiology and bacteriology. Since my primary interest was pathology, I could get into research through that vein. So that's what we did. I stayed there with him for one summer school, and I finished my BA degree in chemistry, and then I went and got a master's degree in microbiology under him.
I know that eventually you came to be part of the development of a drug that really revolutionized a lot of animal care and human care as well. As a horse owner, my family and all the other horse owners are indebted to that, and it was called ivermectin.
Yes.
Would you tell us about that?
After my master's degree, I went to Squibb Pharmaceutical Company in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I worked there for 2 years. But I wasn't satisfied. I knew that I had to have a doctorate. So I applied to the University of Wisconsin Medical School, Department of Microbiology and Physiological Chemistry. And they accepted me and financed my doctorate through fellowships there. And when I got out, then I went to work for Merck & Company in Rahway. And Merck had discovered ivermectin. Ivermectin acts on any parasite that has what's called a beta nervous system. It interferes with the nervous system. And so that was discovered that it was very good for worms and things that affected animals, primarily horses. And it was sold on the market as ivermectin. A very interesting sidelight to ivermectin is serendipitously it was found that it was a very good treatment for river blindness in Africa. A lot of the natives that live on the river in Africa, they get a larva in their eyes that destroys their eyesight, so most of the men in these villages, the older men, are blind because of that. And they found out that ivermectin is one shot of ivermectin for these people prevents this drastic lifestyle change for them. And so Merck to this day is furnishing ivermectin to the UN, who then goes and gives the shots to these natives along the river. It was a very interesting serendipity finding.
That was discovered or developed, 40 years ago?
I've been retired 20 years. It's probably more like 30. 30
years ago. And it's still effective.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That is
it's still being used.
Yeah.
It's probably the most widely used veterinary medicine there is.
Yeah. And I know people who have cattle ranches that run the cattle through a thing and they get it on their that way.
My role in that was that I was doing biological transformations of the molecule, and so I was lucky enough to get my name on a couple patents.
That must be very rewarding to you.
It's kind of fun.
So you really loved being in a laboratory and dealing with small things?
Kind of, yes. Like I once told my mother, I can't see what I'm working with, and I can't feel it, I can't taste it, but I know it's there because very scientific machinery tells me it's there.
Yeah.
But I loved research. There was something magic about research. Not knowing what you're going to do the next day until you find out the results of what you did the day before is an interesting way to make a living.
That must be so exciting. You had some eureka moments when you came back to find something that you didn't expect?
There was occasionally. Once in a while you say to yourself, this is new. I'm the only one in the world that knows this. Wow. If I don't write it down or tell somebody, it may never be known again. So that's kind of a eureka moment, I guess.
Absolutely. There were other drugs too that you had a part in?
Yes, I personally take a drug that my name is on the patent of. That's Zocor. It was discovered at Merck. It was Mevacor. It's a cholesterol-lowering drug. Mevacor was the original, and now Zocor is the second generation of Mevacor. I was involved in that. Of course, I worked on a lot of things that didn't work too. I mean, there's like 99.9% of everything you do is a failure.
Is that right? Yeah. But then you see something that is so widespread and effective like ivermectin. I mean, it's kind of incredible, isn't it?
And I guess the thing you don't know is what you discover today, what effect it will have down the road. Like currently, the monoclonal antibodies, the things that they're doing now, is a direct result of things that were done years ago. At that time, they did not realize that they had that kind of application, but it's a marvelous field and a very rapidly changing field.
Right. So how long were you with Merck, and when did you retire? And
I was at Merck for 27 years. Merck had the rule of 85. If you had been with the company and were 55 years, and that totaled up to a total of 85, you could retire without penalty. So when I was, I guess, at 59, I retired. I never thought I would, but my younger brother kept telling me to get out and enjoy it. And it was kind of time to go. And so after 27 years, I retired. And we moved down to Lake Monticello, down near Charlottesville. And we lived there for 20 years, and then found this place and moved here to Orchard Ridge.
Well, you and Jan have another talent and that you really excelled in, and that's golf.
Well, we didn't excel in it, but we played it.
It's not what we heard, but anyway, you're modest. So what about this woodworking? When did that start? And
well, when I retired to Lake Monticello, it was on a lake, so I had a fishing boat, and I played golf. But I also needed something else to do. I think I needed something creative, I don't know. And so I started to make furniture out of red oak for my children. I started to make desks and bookcases and things for them, and primarily to red oak. My original start was when I was in graduate school. Well, no, actually it was my last year of undergraduate. I worked for a cabinet builder for one summer. So that's where I actually learned how to use wooden the tools for woodworking. And once I started that, I had this scrap pile of wood that I didn't know what to do with. So one day, I just, out of fun, I made a cricket, a pull toy for one of my grandchildren. And that started it. My daughter saw this, immediately went out and bought several books on wooden toys, and this is the result.
So where do you get all of your ideas?
Out of the books, some of it's out of my head. Like some of the things that are display upstairs now, like the front end loader and these things, they come out of my head. And the tractor, things I've seen, and with the details that you learn, this came out of a book, and all of the techniques that you use to make something like this, you use to make something out of your head, So.
How long would it take you to make something like that? It looks so intricate.
Probably in the neighborhood of 50 hours.
50 hours, a week and a half.
Well, no, you're talking labor time. This is relaxed time down here. We don't spend 8 hours down here. It's it's more like a couple weeks. Like this particular engine, if you look at it, has 12 wheels, and they all had to be made separately.
Wow.
I think that engine has something like 30 individual pieces.
Wow.
That are
just one piece in all of this. Just
and
one piece.
They all have different things that are all made separately.
All working parts.
Working parts, ladders.
Ladders.
And there's, as you've noticed around the building, there's 3 different trays. One is made out of walnut like this, another's made out of cherry, and there's another one up there made out of poplar. So there's 3 different styles of trays upstairs.
But there are airplanes and
Airplanes, boats, cars, trucks,
tractors. Yeah.
Anything that's a toy.
Thomas the Tank got to take lessons from you. I understand some of them you've named. What do you name them?
Well, this will be, this I think is called the Ambassador. It was the Santa Fe line, and that was Ambassador. The one that was made out of cherry is called the General, and the one that's made out of poplar is a Reading Railroad work train. And so some of the trains do have names.
Do you like trains better than cars, or what?
No, just like wood. Anything that's made out of wood.
You love wood. So what will you do with them?
They're for sale.
Yeah?
Anything that they see, I'll make to order. This one has already been sold. I made one for Deidre, a trade for Deidre. She's already bought one. One of them's going to my daughter. She wants the General. She wants to use it as a decoration around her tree, Christmas tree.
Well, you know, we little girls didn't get trains.
Well,
and I'm sure all of the women here would love to have trains and trucks and things now.
I made cradles. I made doll cradles.
Right, but trains are special, aren't they?
Trains and trucks.
So can you still make some things to order for Christmas?
Yes.
You've
Yeah, we still have a couple of months. And,
So how many pieces would you say you have ready to go that are available right now?
well, all that's upstairs, I think there's like 28 different pieces that are upstairs on display someplace. They're all for sale.
Wonderful.
And, you know, the trucks and the cars and the planes, they take a lot less time to make than a train. Because this would be like the equivalent of a truck right here. Just one car of a train is the equivalent of a truck.
Well, these will make wonderful Christmas presents for a lot of lucky people. So what is next? What's next on the horizon for you?
Toys. I'm currently making what is called a antique candle lantern that I'm going to make. I'm in the process of making it, and this eventually will be a walking dog. So there's other things that are in the process right now.
So he's going to walk?
Yes, so you have the legs
You can articulate?
You put the offset of the wheels, and that makes the legs look like they're walking.
Oh, cool.
It's a pull toy for children.
And adults? Well, they're really, really beautiful. Are these things that are donated? I mean, it looks like it's a very well-appointed place. And who works here, and what all do you do?
It is a very, very nice shop. When we were first in the original building, we had a smaller area that we worked in. And when they built this, then Orchard Ridge furnished the vacuum system that you see here, this marvelous saw, and we had four of us who originally came here brought some tools with us, so there was a lot of donated tools. But most of those tools have now been replaced with that we have bought ourselves. We have made enough. Take donations from the residents, or when we sell things, we buy replacements for our wearing out equipment. So we do have a very, very nice woodworking shop here. And Ted Hughes, Chuck,
Couch.
and Jack McAllister, and Carl Bruntlett, the five of us actually are kind of here most of the time. Somebody's usually here every morning from 8 o'clock till noon, 6 days a week. And you're welcome to come in at any time and bring problems, questions. We'll tackle anything. If we can't do it, we'll tell you. But we repair furniture and we do a lot of different things down here.
I know you've also made things like birdhouses and
Oh yes, Carl Bruntlett made a lot of birdhouses that are scattered around here.
And all of these are done so the residents perhaps pay for the materials or something, but make a donation.
We do ask that they buy the materials,
Mm-hmm.
and then if they feel like it, they can make a donation. And with excess money that we don't need to buy materials and equipment, goes to the benevolent fund.
Mm-hmm. So. That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much for telling us about it today, and we're looking forward to a very exciting Christmas.
Well, like I say, just talk to me soon.